Afghanistan, a country we now know as the graveyard of empires and a Muslim majority land. But did you know that long ago, this same land was center of Sanatan Dharma and Buddhism? Imagine a place where grand Shiva temples stood tall. People lived by the sacred hymns of the Rig Veda, and Hindu kings minted coins with images of Lord Shiva. But here's something shocking. The name Hindu Kush, which means Hindu killer, might not just be a part of history. Could it be a deliberate attempt to erase the Hindu and Buddhist roots of this land? How did a region so rich in spiritual history transform so drastically? These are the questions that we will explore today. And while we uncover this fascinating history, here's a fun activity for you. Hashtag Ask Harry Anything. Every Friday, I'll answer the most liked or most asked questions in the comments. So as you watch, leave your comments below using the hashtag AskHarryAnything. Your curiosity could even inspire the next video. So now continuing. So stay with me till the end, because this is not just a story of loss. It's a story of resilience and legacy. And by the end of this video, you'll see Afghanistan in a whole new light. So let's begin this amazing journey of how India lost Afghanistan. To understand how Hinduism reached Afghanistan, we need to go far back in time. Back to when the Hinduism we know today didn't exist in its current form. Instead, people followed Sanatan Dharma, the ancient way of life that shaped much of Asia. But how far back are we talking about? It's hard to say the exact date. But if we trust Hindu scriptures, the Mahabharata war happened around 5561 BCE, and the events we are discussing took place around 2000 years before that. Why? Because the Rig Veda mentions ancient clans moving to the region that we now call Afghanistan. One fascinating story in the Rig Veda is Battle of 10 Kings, Mandal 7, Hymn 18. This epic battle was fought between King Sudas and the Bharata clan, and several other clans. These clans were the ancestor of Kuru and Pandava's families from the Mahabharata. It's said that the Mahabharata war happened 25 generations after this battle, placing the Battle of 10 Kings around 7000 to 8000 BCE. While we may not know the exact dates, but these stories give us a sense of the timeline. The migration of clans, the Battle of 10 Kings, was a turning point. King Sudas defeated many clans, and some of them didn't stay in the subcontinent. Instead, they migrated to the region outside the subcontinent, including Afghanistan. These groups included the Pakta, Bhalana, Dhruyu, and others. The Pak clan, does that name sound familiar? It should, because over thousands of years, the Pak clan became the Pashtuns, the people of modern-day Afghanistan and the parts of Pakistan. Isn't it amazing how their roots go back to these ancient migrations? They carried Sanatan Dharma with them, not as a religion, but as a way of life that shaped their culture. The Bhalana clan. The journey of Bhalana clan is less well documented, but some believe that they settled near the modern area of Baluchistan. Even today, you can find traces of their ancient traditions in the local folklores and rituals, though much has changed over time. The Dhruyu clan. The Dhruyus moved northwest and built a kingdom in a place called Gandhara. In Sanskrit, Gandhara means land of fragrance because it was rich in natural aromatics like sandalwood and spices. Gandhara was a hub of culture. It wasn't just another kingdom. It became a cultural and spiritual center. The Dhruyus blended Vedic traditions with local cultures, creating a unique civilization. Over time, Gandhara became famous for its scholars, art, and philosophy. For example, Acharya Panini, the great teacher who wrote the first grammar of Sanskrit, was from Gandhara. But the story of Gandhara doesn't end here. Let's fast forward about 2000 years to the time of the Mahabharata. Did you know that Gandhari, the mother of Kauravas, was a princess from Gandhara? Her marriage to Dhritarashtra of Hastinapur shows how deeply connected the Indian subcontinent and Afghanistan were back then. Around the 6th century BC, something transformative happened: the rise of Buddhism. Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, shared his teaching, which were rooted in Sanatan Dharma, but offered a new perspective on life and spirituality. Gandhara embraced these ideas and became a major hub for Buddhism. Under the rule of Emperor Ashoka, Gandhara's connection to Buddhism grew even stronger. After his transformation into a devout Buddhist, Ashoka supported the building of monasteries and stupas in places like Takshila and Peshawar, making Gandhara a center of Buddhist learning and art. But here's the surprising part. Even though Buddhism flourished, Sanatan Dharma didn't disappear. Instead, both traditions lived side by side, influencing each other. Gandhara became a melting pot where these two great ways of life blended beautifully, creating a unique cultural identity. By the 1st century CE, the Kushan Empire rose to power. One of its greatest kings, Kanishk the Great, elevated Gandhara's legacy even further. Kanishk was a strong supporter of Buddhism, but respected the Vedic tradition that had shaped the region for centuries. Under his rule, Gandhara art flourished, mixing Indian spiritual theme with Greco-Roman style to create something truly unique. All of these campaigns, the spirit of Sanatan Dharma stayed alive in Gandhara. You could see it in the rituals, festivals, and daily life, proving the lasting power of this ancient way of life. Isn't it amazing how the legacy of ancient clans like the Dhruyus shaped Gandhara, influencing great kings like Ashok and Kanishk? This land, once a cradle of Sanatan Dharma, became a shining example of cultural exchange, spiritual growth, and artistic brilliance. As we continue the journey from Gandhara to Afghanistan, let's explore the kingdoms that shaped its history after the Kushan and before the rise of Mahmud of Ghazni. The timeline tells a story of resilience, cultural brilliance, and an eventual heart-breaking transformation. After the Kushans, the Kirdara dynasty rose to prominence around the 4th century CE, known as the Kidarites Huns. They were successors of the Kushans and carried forward their legacy by constructing grand temples dedicated to Shiva and Vishnu. During their reign, the worship of Shiva expanded beyond Afghanistan to the regions like Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, where temples like the one in Tashkent stood as a symbol of devotion. Even today, remnants of these temples whisper tales of glorious past that refuses to be forgotten. By the 6th century CE, the Shahi kings, often referred to as Hindu Shahi, emerged as the dominant rulers. The Kabul Valley, the heart of the kingdom, became a thriving center of Hindu culture. Their coins engraved with images of Lord Shiva reflected the deep spiritual identity of the region. In fact, the Chinese traveler Xuanzang noted the splendor of powerful Kshatriya king ruling the valley, whose court was adorned with Hindu temples and rituals that spoke of an unbroken connection to Sanatan Dharma. But then came the storm, a storm that would change the region forever. By the 7th century CE, Arab invaders arrived, bringing with them the growing force of the Caliphate. The Hindu Shahis, under legendary rulers like King Kingala, fought fiercely to defend their land and tradition. Temples became fortresses, their walls soaked in prayers for those seeking divine intervention. But the invaders weren't just after territory. They targeted the very heart of the region, spiritual and cultural identity. The sacred temple of Gardesh, dedicated to Shiva and Parvati, became a powerful symbol of resistance. It stood tall, defying the invaders until it was plundered and its divine idols shattered. The once sacred land of Shiv Vihar in Bukhara, modern-day Uzbekistan, was desecrated, its Shiva temples reduced to rumbles. According to Islamic and Chinese chronicles, a Hindu queen from the region, who was known as Khatun, traveled to Kashmir seeking military aid. Please, though valiant, could not stop the rising tide. By the 9th century CE, the Shahi rulers, overwhelmed by relentless attacks, were forced to shift their capital from Kabul to Udhyantpur, modern-day Und. This marked the beginning of their final stand. The reign of Shahi King Jaipal and his son Anandpal was a story of unmatched bravery. They resisted the Turkish ruler Subuktuddin and his son Mahmud of Ghazni with everything that they had. But the invaders were relentless. They aimed clear to erase the spiritual identity of Afghanistan. The very mountains that had protected the Hindu kingdoms now bore the name Hindu Kush, or Hindu Killer, a chilling reminder of the devastation unleashed on the regions of Hindu population. Temples that once echoed the chants of Om Namah Shivaya were set ablaze. Idols were defecated or destroyed, their divine form broken into lifeless rubble. The final blow came in 998 CE, when Mahmud of Ghazni, the son of Subuktuddin, ascended to power. His reign was marked by calculated cruelty. In a series of invasions, he not only looted the wealth of Indian subcontinent, but systematically targeted the spiritual heritage of Afghanistan. Shiva temple in Kabul, Gardesh, and other regions were destroyed or converted into mosques. The magnificent Pule Kishti Mosque in Kabul today stands on the ruins of Grand Shiva Temple, a silent witness to the transformation of a land once rich in diversity and spirituality. By 980 CE, the region had transitioned into a predominantly Islamic land. The chants of Sanatan Dharma and Buddhist sutras were replaced by the call to prayer. What was once a thriving center of spiritual wisdom was now a land of erased traditions and forgotten legacies. But did you know that ancient Indian sages might have predicted what happened to Afghanistan? The Bhavishya Puran, one of Hinduism's ancient texts, speaks of a time when Malech, foreigners or outsiders, would rise from the west. These Malechs are described as people who rejected Dharma, the path of righteousness. The Puranas warn that they would bring their own beliefs, impose their doctrines, and destroy the tradition of Sanatan Dharma. In the Pratisarga Parv, Part 3, Chapter 3, verse 5 to 27, the Puran states, the Malech will bring a new doctrine and destroy the followers of Sanatan Dharma. They will spread their belief across the land. Doesn't this sound eerily familiar to what happened in Afghanistan? The land that once echoed with the chants of Om Namah Shivaya fell silent as temples were destroyed. The Gardesh temple, dedicated to Shiva and Parvati, was plundered, its idols broken into rumbles. The tradition of Sanatan Dharma and Buddhism were erased, and Afghanistan's spiritual identity was completely transformed. Even the name Hindu Kush, meaning Hindu killer, serves as a chilling reminder of this destruction. The Bhavishya Puran wasn't just describing an event, it was warning us of the rise of adharma. It told us that only those who stay strong and united can protect dharma. By the 11th century, Afghanistan was no longer the land of temples, chants, and wisdom. It had become a land ruled by Malechs, where the sacred tradition of Sanatan Dharma and Buddhism had been wiped away. The beautiful Shiva temples, the profound teaching of the Vedas, and exquisite art of Gandhara were all systematically destroyed. But here's something incredible to remember. Even though Malech brought destruction, they couldn't erase everything. The legacy of Dharma proved stronger than their invasion. Inscription on stones, statues hidden in ruins, and ancient writings still whisper the tale of Hindu Afghanistan's glorious past. A spirit of Dharma endured. It survived through centuries of darkness, proving that true wisdom and spirituality cannot be entirely erased. The Bhavishya Puran teaches us an important lesson. We must always protect Dharma. Afghanistan's story is not just about the past. It's a powerful reminder for the future. It tells us that unity, strength, and pride in our traditions are essential to preserve our culture. Even though we lost Afghanistan as a land of temple and wisdom, its spirit and history lives on. It teaches us that even in the darkest of time, Dharma can survive. But survival is not enough. We must actively work to ensure that the legacy of Sanatan Dharma thrives and inspires future generations. So let's honor the memory of Hindu Afghanistan by learning from its story. Let it motivate us to protect and cherish our traditions. And as we end this journey, I leave you with the question: what can we do today to protect and preserve the Dharma for the future? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to use hashtag AskHarryAnything to keep this important conversation going. This is it from my side. This is Harry signing off. Stay curious.